You stand on the soil, feeling the coolness seep slowly into your soles. There is no rush here, only a patient, almost imperceptible vibration, like the faint pulse of a creature breathing beneath your feet. At first, you think it is your imagination, the gentle thrum of life in your own body. But if you quiet your mind, if you let your thoughts drift like clouds across a still sky, you notice it. The earth is moving. Not with sudden force, not with dramatic gesture, but with a subtle, deliberate rhythm that spans millennia. Beneath your weight, mountains shift imperceptibly. Their jagged peaks seem eternal, but deep within, rock flows like thick honey, bending and twisting under unimaginable pressure. Tectonic plates, vast and silent, glide past one another at a pace so slow that years might pass without a human noticing. Yet, over centuries, this movement sculpts valleys, pushes up ranges, and drags islands across the oceans. Imagine a continent, immobile to your eyes, traveling slowly as a leaf drifting on a viscous river, carried forward by forces older than your thoughts. You bend down, letting your fingers brush the earth. There is warmth here, though faint, and a subtle, almost musical resonance. Geologists call it plate tectonics, but words feel inadequate. This is the poetry of the planet, a rhythm older than any language. It is the slow heartbeat of stone and sediment, a pulse that once measured time in eons, before clocks or calendars. The earth does not hurry, and neither must you. Water flows over rock with gentle persistence, carving canyons that stretch like sinews through the landscape. Rivers snake lazily across continents, guided by gravity, reshaping the world without any hint of urgency. You trace a line with your finger in the sand at the riverbank, watching it dissolve into the water. In that moment, the imperceptible becomes tangible. The earth is patient, and its time is vast. There is a lesson in this persistence. Life often feels hurried, full of deadlines and schedules, but beneath it all, there is a steadiness that carries everything forward. Think of a mountain range, towering, jagged, immovable to the eye. But deep beneath, in the mantle where heat and pressure reign, rocks flow slowly, inches each year, reshaping the landscape. The same rocks that hold fossils, the imprints of creatures long gone, are still moving today, imperceptibly molding the face of the earth. You sense a strange kinship. Even in seeming stillness, change is ongoing. In the quiet pulse of the planet, everything is connected. Every ridge, every valley, every ocean current part of the same delicate choreography. Listen closer, and you might perceive the subtle music of shifting plates. It is not loud, not seismic tremors, but a faint rhythm. The grinding of stone against stone, the scraping of continents in slow motion, the whisper of creation itself. Volcanoes, where molten rock reaches the surface, are like breaths of the earth, exhaling heat and ash into the air. Even when they erupt, their activity is measured in human terms, sudden to us, yet part of a cycle that has been unfolding for millions of years. You close your eyes and imagine the continents drifting. North America inches westward, Europe and Africa slowly approaching each other, Asia climbing as mountain ranges rise. Oceans widen, shrink, and reshape the face of the planet, as if the earth itself were breathing. In this meditation, you understand why geologists speak of deep time, a scale so vast that a single human lifetime is barely a heartbeat. And yet, in this immensity, you also feel a comforting constancy. The earth will continue, steady and unyielding, long after you are gone. Consider the rocks beneath your feet. Igneous, formed from molten beginnings. Sedimentary, layered with the stories of oceans long vanished. Metamorphic, shaped by heat and pressure into something entirely new. Each stone holds a memory, a chapter in the ongoing narrative of the planet. You imagine holding a piece of granite, feeling the echoes of tectonic forces, the subtle vibrations of a world in motion. The weight of time presses gently into your awareness. You are small, yet intimately connected to these forces, part of a continuum that stretches beyond comprehension. There is a rhythm in all of this if you pay attention. One plate nudges another. Magma rises, then cools. Rivers carve, Glaciers grind, winds erode. Nothing is hurried. Everything moves according to its own quiet timing. You are reminded that patience is a natural force, that change does not require frenzy. In this lesson, there is a gentle invitation to slow your breath, to feel your own pulse in harmony with the larger, slower pulse of the planet. Night begins to fall, and shadows stretch over hills and valleys. You notice how the land itself seems to sigh with the coming darkness, its pulse steady and unbroken. Stars emerge, distant points of light that hint at even larger rhythms. Yet the Earth's heartbeat remains beneath your feet, grounding you. There is a serene majesty in knowing that the ground you walk upon is alive in its own slow, imperceptible way. You feel gratitude, a quiet awareness that this living planet cradles you even as it moves at its patient pace. As you breathe, you sense a connection between your own rhythm and the Earth's. The slow drift of continents mirrors the gentle unfolding of your thoughts. Rivers cutting valleys reflect the flow of ideas through your mind. Mountains rising and eroding echo the creation and letting go within your own life. The Earth becomes a mirror, not only of time, but of presence, teaching you that even in stillness, there is movement. Even in silence, there is sound. And now, as you stand, aware of the pulse beneath you, you can begin to notice the air above, the subtle currents, the shifting patterns in the sky, the invisible winds that travel across oceans and deserts. The planet's quiet heartbeat reaches beyond stone and soil, connecting with the flow of energy in the atmosphere, hinting at a dance of forces that shapes weather, climate, and the living systems above. If the Earth's slow pulse is felt beneath you, then the next movement, the rhythm in the air, awaits your attention, ready to reveal its own intricate story. Last lines, transition to next chapter, and as the ground whispers beneath your feet, you turn your senses upward, feeling the invisible currents in the air above, hinting at patterns that, though unseen, are just as alive, ready to carry you into the gentle exploration of skies and winds. You begin by noticing the thin, brittle skin that wraps the planet, the crust, the delicate page upon which the story of the Earth is first written. It feels solid beneath your feet, yet it is fragile, a surface shaped by forces that are both patient and relentless. You imagine the continents resting here like words pressed into paper, letters of rock that speak of oceans and mountains, valleys and plains. Each fissure, each ridge, is a line of narrative, a whisper of events that unfolded over millions of years. Beneath this thin skin, the mantle stretches vast and slow, a thick ocean of silicate rock that moves imperceptibly, like honey in an eternal dream. You sense its warmth, the deep heat that rises from the planet's core, soft and steady, a pulse beneath the surface. Here, pressure is a sculptor, shaping minerals and crystals, bending them into forms that are invisible to the eye yet monumental in their effect. It is in this slow dance that the Earth's continents drift, colliding and separating, carving the landscapes that you now walk upon. You feel the weight of this motion, patient and grand, and your mind drifts alongside it, imagining the molten currents weaving their hidden paths. As you descend further, the mantle becomes more than a slow-flowing river of rock. It becomes a record of transformation, a palimpsest of change. Rocks that were once surface materials now sink, pushed down by their own weight, transformed under pressure into new forms. You see them folding and bending, stretched thin like silk under invisible hands. The colors shift in your imagination. Greens, browns, deep grays, and occasional flashes of crystal-like brilliance, each hue a testimony to chemistry and heat working together over unimaginable spans of time. Here, patience is the language, and change is its poetry. Within the mantle, you notice convection currents, almost imperceptible, rising and falling like gentle waves in a hidden sea. You picture them moving slowly, carrying fragments of the crust and melted rock like messages in a bottle, each destined to surface somewhere else, somewhere new. These movements are the quiet architects of mountains and volcanoes, shaping landscapes in ways that will only become visible long after a human lifetime. You feel your own breath align with these rhythms, slow and deep, echoing the eternal pulse beneath the surface. The Earth moves with a patience that makes your own hurried thoughts feel momentarily still. Deeper still, you sense the boundary where the mantle gives way to the core, a place where rock no longer flows, where iron and nickel dominate, and where heat becomes so intense that time itself seems to stretch differently. You imagine this core as a glowing, restless heart, generating the magnetic field that wraps the Earth like an invisible shield. It is here that the planet hums its deepest song, a low vibration that travels outward, through mantle and crust, whispering in ways that you can almost feel but never fully hear. You picture the molten metal swirling in the outer core, a slow, glowing dance that has persisted for billions of years, each movement shaping the world you know, even as it remains unseen. The inner core, solid despite the immense heat, lies at the very center. You think of it as the planet's memory, compressed and concentrated, holding secrets of formation, moments when the Earth was young and raw. It spins slowly, locked in a quiet, eternal rotation, a beacon of stability amid the restless flow of the layers above. You feel a sense of awe at this hidden order, a calm understanding that even in places you cannot reach, the planet holds itself together with grace and precision. Every layer above is shaped by the one beneath, a cascading story of influence, each stratum a reflection of those that came before. As you drift through these depths, the concept of time changes. Here, millions of years feel like minutes, and the slow folding of rock becomes a rhythm you can almost hum along with. You picture ancient collisions of continents, oceans swallowed and born again, volcanoes erupting and fading, all layered into the mantle, crust, and core. Every fold of rock, every seam of mineral, is a line of poetry written in heat and pressure. You realize that to truly understand the Earth, you must listen to this poetry, feel it through the slow motion of layers and currents, and recognize the patient artistry that has been unfolding long before your first breath. Your thoughts drift back to the crust, the layer where you stand, yet now it feels alive in a way it didn't before. You see it not as static, but as a page on which the mantle writes in invisible ink, a surface that shifts imperceptibly as the deep Earth moves beneath. You notice the mountains again, imagining them as folded pages, each peak a letter, each valley a pause, telling the story of forces that are invisible yet tangible, immense yet gentle in their persistence. You feel a kinship with these layers, a quiet connection that transcends human time, linking your awareness with the slow, steady pulse of the planet itself. In this meditation, you sense that the Earth is not merely a home, but a living manuscript, each layer a chapter, each movement a sentence written in heat, pressure, and time. You picture yourself tracing these layers with your mind's eye, drifting gently through crust, mantle, and core, feeling the ebb and flow of a story that has no beginning or end, only continuity. And in this story, you are both observer and participant, your consciousness momentarily aligned with rhythms that are far older, far slower, and yet intimately connected to the world you walk upon. As you begin to ascend, moving back toward the surface, the layers do not vanish. They remain, whispering their truths to the attentive mind. The mantle hums softly beneath your feet, the core beats quietly at the center, and the crust carries the imprints of these depths like a manuscript written over eons. You carry this awareness with you, a calm understanding of the forces shaping every mountain, valley, and plain. And as your mind lingers on the story beneath, you sense that there is yet another rhythm waiting to be discovered. The pulse of the Earth's plate boundaries, the edges where continents meet and diverge, where the surface itself trembles with motion. In this way, the layers are no longer distant or abstract. They are alive with history, movement, and purpose. And you, drifting through them in quiet observation, begin to wonder what secrets the shifting edges of the Earth might reveal next, as if the planet is inviting you to follow the story all the way to its restless, ever-changing surface. You begin by closing your eyes and imagining the Earth as a vast, breathing body, its skin a mosaic of continents and oceans, each piece moving with the patience of eons. Beneath the ground, hidden from sight, immense slabs of rock shift imperceptibly. These are the tectonic plates, the unseen dancers of the planet, sliding, rotating, and colliding in a rhythm too slow for your daily perception. Yet in this slowness lies their majesty, a motion that feels eternal, like the soft unfolding of time itself. You sense the subtle vibration under your feet, as though the earth hums a song beneath the crust. The continents, enormous and weighty, drift along currents of molten rock deep below. They rise and fall, slide past one another, and occasionally meet in gentle confrontation, folding and crumpling to form mountains and valleys. In your mind's eye, you can see the continents as floating stages, carrying rivers, forests, deserts, and cities, all riding this imperceptible tide. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast ocean, watching a distant landmass inch closer over millions of years. The motion is so gradual it seems suspended in stillness, yet each centimeter traveled is the culmination of immense forces, flowing silently through the mantle like a river of stone. You feel the patience of the planet, its deliberate timing, a rhythm that surpasses human understanding. There is a quiet wisdom in this motion. Everything moves, everything shifts, but always in harmony with the greater whole. The ocean floors themselves are alive in this dance. New crust forms along mid-ocean ridges, where molten rock wells up, cools, and spreads outward. Here, the earth is literally growing beneath the waves, creating new expanses for life to inhabit. You trace the currents in your mind, feeling how magma flows like an invisible river, carrying continents gently on its back, pushing them apart or guiding them together. It is a slow, graceful choreography, and though invisible, you sense its presence in every fold of the land and curve of the coastline. Mountains rise as if in applause, the result of plates colliding and crumpling against one another. You imagine the Himalayas forming under the weight of such colossal encounters, each peak a testament to patience and pressure over millions of years. Valleys form where the earth stretches and pulls, landscapes bending like fabric in a gentle breeze. Rivers carve their paths across these mountains, following the contours shaped by forces invisible yet unstoppable. You feel a sense of awe at this subtle artistry, where raw power and delicate beauty coexist. Beneath your awareness, fault lines mark invisible seams where the plates meet, sometimes slipping with sudden bursts of energy, releasing earthquakes that ripple across the surface. Yet even these disruptions are part of the dance, moments of tension that eventually settle back into the slow rhythm. You notice how balance is maintained, how the Earth's movements are neither chaotic nor haphazard, but orchestrated with the precision of a cosmic conductor. Floating above the scene, you feel yourself moving alongside the continents, carried by the currents of deep rock and molten metal. You witness Africa slowly drifting northward, colliding with Eurasia, pushing up mountains, shaping the Mediterranean. You imagine North and South America gliding westward, carving the Atlantic wider with each passing millennia. The dance is slow, deliberate, yet endlessly fascinating, a reminder that time has a pace far beyond our own. You reflect on the oceans, vast liquid expanses that mirror the movements below. They rise and fall, swell and recede, responding to the Earth's heartbeat. Underneath, mid-ocean ridges continue to birth new crust, while subduction zones swallow old crust back into the mantle, a continuous cycle of creation and renewal. It is a rhythm both violent and serene, a paradox of destruction and formation intertwined. You feel this duality in your own being, recognizing how endings and beginnings are inseparable. As the continents dance, climates shift and ecosystems adapt. Mountains alter wind patterns, oceans guide storms, and forests spread or recede. Life responds subtly to these slow, inexorable changes, evolving alongside the land. You sense the interconnectedness of it all. Rock, water, air, and life moving as part of a single unified performance. In this perspective, humanity is a brief, delicate note in a symphony that has played for millions of years. You feel a gentle humility, a connection to the slow wisdom of the planet. Time itself seems to stretch here, measured not in hours or days, but in epochs and eras. You imagine standing at the edge of a cliff that was once ocean floor, or looking at a mountain that began as a tiny sedimentary ridge. You feel the weight of patience, the inevitability of change, and the beauty that arises when slow forces interact. The earth is never idle. It simply moves on a scale beyond your perception, yet its motion shapes every corner of your world. The dance is both visible and invisible. You can see continents drift on maps and diagrams, but their full grace exists in imagination and feeling. You follow the spiraling convection currents in the mantle, swirling like slow, molten dancers beneath the plates. They pull and push, lift and sink, guiding the continents in a choreography that has been unfolding since deep time began. You sense the continuity, the unbroken thread of motion that links past, present, and future. And so, as you float above this immense ballet, you realize the earth is patient, and so are you. You learn to watch without rushing, to feel without needing to control. Each mountain, each ocean, each drifting continent is a whisper of time, a reminder that motion need not be hurried to be profound. You let yourself be carried by the rhythm of the planet, understanding that everything has its place in this endless dance. The continents glide, rotate, collide, and separate, a choreography of imperceptible grace. You follow them in thought, feeling the ebb and flow of forces too vast to see, yet intimate enough to sense. Mountains rise as gestures, oceans swell as breath, and the earth spins its silent music. You feel your mind settle into this rhythm, syncing with the slow pulse beneath the surface. In this quiet awareness, you notice the invisible currents, the molten flows, the gentle drift of continents, and the patient shaping of the world. Each motion carries a story, a whisper of creation and transformation. You realize that this endless dance is not just beneath your feet, but within your own perception, teaching patience, rhythm, and connection. And as you linger in this suspended observation, feeling the subtle ballet of land and sea, you begin to wonder about the forces that guide not only continents but also the patterns of life, the rise and fall of mountains, and the unfolding of climates. Perhaps there is a similar rhythm in the flow of time itself, a motion you can follow with your mind, letting it carry you gently into the next chapter of the Earth's story. You stand at the edge of a valley, feeling the cool breath of wind brushing over your face. Below, rivers carve gentle paths through the soil, tracing lines that have been drawn for millennia. Your gaze lifts slowly, following the silhouette of peaks against the fading light, and you realize that these mountains were not simply placed here, but were born from motion, movements so slow, so deliberate, that time itself seems to pause in their presence. Beneath your feet, the earth is alive. Deep inside, layers of rock shift imperceptibly, pressing, folding, and rising. This is not a violence of sudden eruptions, but a patient, persistent orchestration of immense forces. You imagine the tectonic plates, enormous slabs of solid rock, nudging each other in a silent conversation. Over millions of years, these nudges accumulate, and where once there were low plains, now emerge peaks reaching for the sky. You run your fingers over a smooth stone, noticing tiny ridges, delicate lines that tell a story older than any memory you hold. Each fold of rock is a record of immense pressure, of heat and compression, and the slow, deliberate bending that shapes mountains. These ridges are like pages in a book written in a language of rock, of atoms rearranging themselves under stress, each layer a paragraph of Earth's biography. Imagine the immense patience of time. A mountain begins as a whisper, a small uplift, barely perceptible. And yet, with every passing century, it grows, imperceptibly yet inexorably, until it stands as a monument to endurance. You can almost hear the echoes of past ages in the valleys below, a soft, lingering hum of geological motion that never truly stops. High above, glaciers cling to the upper slopes, moving slowly like frozen rivers. They are sculptors of the landscape, carrying debris, polishing the rock, and carving deep valleys in the stone. You watch as a glacial stream winds its way down a mountainside, leaving behind traces of its patient journey, a reminder that even ice participates in the mountain's slow choreography. You notice how light and shadow dance across the peaks. The sun rises and sets, brushing the mountain faces with warm gold and cool gray, revealing textures that only time could create. In these patterns, you see the artistry of compression and erosion, of motion and resistance, as if the mountains themselves are breathing, exhaling in rhythms measured across epochs. You step closer to a ridge, feeling the slope beneath your feet, the solidity of the rock. It is astonishing to consider that these stones were once deep beneath the Earth's surface, heated and molded by unimaginable pressures. Tectonic motion brought them here, elevated them gently but persistently, until they touched the sky. You sense that the mountains are not just scenery. They are evidence of a quiet, unstoppable process that has been unfolding long before you arrived. Listen closely to the sounds around you. The wind whistles softly through the canyons, echoing the movement of the plates far below. Small stones shift and tumble on the slopes, subtle reminders that change is constant. Even the vegetation, clinging tenaciously to cracks and ledges, participates in this patient unfolding, roots burrowing, holding, and reshaping the soil. Life and stone are entwined in a slow, graceful dance. Consider how humans often view mountains as timeless, fixed, permanent. Yet they are born of motion, a truth that asks you to slow your own pace, to measure your patience in centuries rather than days. Your footsteps on the path are fleeting against the enduring rhythm of tectonic forces, yet you are part of the same story. The rock beneath you, the wind that caresses your cheeks, the rivers carving valleys. They are chapters in the same narrative, one of persistent transformation. As you climb higher, the air thins, and your breath becomes a rhythm you can feel in your chest. The mountain's height is a reminder of forces invisible yet immense, stretching across space and time. You sense the weight of history in each layer of stone, a tangible story of folding, thrusting, and rising. It is as if the earth itself writes poetry in rock, verses that speak of resilience, endurance, and the beauty of slow, inevitable change. Think of the faults and fractures you notice along the ridges. They are evidence of stress released, of strain accumulated and given back to the earth. Sometimes the mountain trembles, subtly, beneath unseen pressure. And yet, the peaks endure, reminding you that persistence can coexist with flexibility, and that motion, even when slow and invisible, shapes the world profoundly. Look at the valleys stretching below you, carved by rivers and glaciers alike. Water and ice move patiently, shaping stone in rhythms so subtle you almost forget they are moving at all. Each curve and bend tells a story of resistance and persistence, of moments where stone gave way to flow, where gentle pressure over time creates beauty as grand as the peaks themselves. You pause to imagine the story of a single grain of rock. Once molten, once part of the deep crust, it was squeezed, stretched, and lifted. It witnessed countless years of pressure, changes of temperature, the rise and fall of seas, and the slow dance of tectonic forces. And now, it rests beneath your feet, part of a larger mosaic, a piece of the mountain's quiet, persistent narrative. As clouds gather on the horizon, the peaks begin to disappear in mist. Their permanence feels fleeting, yet you know they endure in ways beyond immediate sight. You sense the interplay of creation and erosion, of uplift and wearing down, and how each peak tells the story of forces both grand and patient. Mountains are not simply stone. They are processes made visible, poetry written in the language of movement. You walk along the ridge, letting your fingers brush over rough stone, feeling the textures of millions of years. You notice the subtle angles where layers meet, the tiny crumbles of rock, the lichens that cling stubbornly, defying gravity. Every detail speaks of resilience, of pressure, of time's patient hand shaping the earth into forms of quiet grandeur. The sun begins its descent, and the mountains glow in warm tones, shadows stretching into valleys. You linger, taking in the scale, the depth, the history encoded in rock. You feel a deep, unspoken connection, a recognition that you are part of a story far larger than your own. The peaks rise, fold, and endure, and in their silent wisdom, they teach you patience, persistence, and awe. And as the first stars appear above the high ridges, you sense that these mountains, born of motion, continue to grow and change long after your footsteps fade. The wind carries whispers of uplift and erosion, of glaciers that move like slow breaths, of rivers etching the world in quiet insistence. And somewhere deep within, You wonder what other stories lie waiting in the folds of rock, stories that have yet to rise to the surface. You close your eyes and imagine the world beneath your feet, a place untouched by light, where heat and motion weave together in quiet majesty. Here, the earth hums softly, a low, steady rhythm that has been flowing for billions of years. You sense it not with your ears, but with your whole body, as if the warmth of the planet reaches up through the soles of your feet, through your legs, and into your chest. It is both ancient and immediate, a reminder that beneath the familiar surface lies a hidden river of life and energy. This river is not water, though it flows in many ways like a stream. It is molten rock, creeping slowly, endlessly, through channels carved over eons. Scientists call it the mantle, a layer of viscous stone heated to thousands of degrees, moving so slowly that mountains grow and oceans shift almost imperceptibly. You imagine yourself floating along these currents, carried by a gentle, steady force. Each movement is deliberate, precise, yet effortlessly flowing. The world above changes as a reflection of this hidden dance. Continents drift, mountains rise, and valleys deepen, all in response to the currents that you now follow. As you drift deeper, you notice the texture of the molten rivers. Some areas are smooth, almost glassy, while others are jagged and restless. These variations guide the movement of tectonic plates, the massive slabs of rock that make up the Earth's crust. You feel the slow push and pull, the subtle friction where edges meet and sometimes catch, only to release in a quiet sigh. These are the gentle tremors, the small earthquakes that ripple through the surface. You sense them not as danger, but as the planet's soft breathing, a signal that it is alive, that it is responding, shaping itself in slow, careful gestures. Light, even imagined, plays differently down here. You picture it glowing from the heat itself, a soft orange and gold, like a perpetual sunset. Shadows ripple across the molten channels, and you realize that the earth beneath you is not static. It is constantly moving, flowing, reshaping. You see how currents collide, how streams of magma diverge and reconvene, forming complex patterns that guide the motion above. Mountains form where currents push upward. Valleys carve themselves where the flow withdraws. You feel a deep connection to this hidden world, as if you can almost predict the slow heartbeat of the land above. Temperature becomes a sense of touch. You feel warmth radiating through the layers, soothing, constant, never overwhelming. It flows through the solid rock, a gentle reminder of energy that never sleeps. You notice pockets where heat accumulates, creating small plumes that rise toward the crust. You imagine these plumes like invisible fountains, carrying material from deep within the earth, nudging continents to drift a few centimeters each year. Time feels different here, stretched and fluid. What takes decades on the surface is an instant beneath, and what takes eons above feels like the blink of an eye to the molten rivers. Your thoughts wander to the minerals carried within this flowing rock. Tiny crystals, formed under immense pressure, drift slowly along the currents. These minerals will eventually emerge on the surface, hidden in volcanic rock or scattered across ocean floors. You realize that everything above, every mountain, every valley, every grain of sand, has traveled from this hidden river, shaped by forces unseen. You drift along, following a ribbon of liquid stone as it twists and turns beneath continents, feeling its influence as subtle tremors beneath your imaginary body. Sometimes the flow is gentle, almost imperceptible, and sometimes it is restless, like a hidden storm beneath the crust. You feel the tension building where currents meet, the quiet energy waiting to release. These are the slow, patient motions that guide the slow evolution of the Earth's surface. You imagine continents nudging closer or drifting apart, islands rising where plumes push upward, oceans deepening where the mantle pulls back. It is a choreography older than time, a dance that has no beginning and no end, only continuous motion. You float within it, a silent observer, carried along by the river that never stops moving. You notice how the flow is not uniform. Some regions are thick and sluggish, others thin and fast. You sense the heat and density, the subtle variations that create a dynamic, ever-changing environment. Currents twist around one another, creating whirlpools of molten rock that will one day surface as volcanic islands or mountain chains. You imagine yourself leaning over the edge of a subterranean cliff, peering into these swirls, marveling at the hidden complexity that shapes the world above. Each bend, each twist of the river is precise, yet free, a reminder that nature's wisdom is both deliberate and effortless. As you follow a particularly wide channel, you feel the Earth's energy expand around you, encompassing entire continents. You understand, in a quiet, intuitive way, how connected everything is. The movements deep below affect oceans, wind patterns, and even the cycles of life above. You sense the slow, patient pulse of the planet, a rhythm that has persisted through ice ages, mass extinctions, and the rise of life. You drift in harmony with it, feeling both small and intimately connected, as if your own heartbeat is now synchronized with the slow flow of molten rock beneath. Time begins to dissolve. You lose track of hours, days, or even millennia. In the hush of the Earth's interior, there is only flow, warmth, and gentle motion. The hidden rivers carry you onward, never rushing, always steady. You feel your thoughts softening, melting into the rhythm of the planet, drifting along with the tides of molten stone. The tremors above, the shifts of continents, the quiet shaping of mountains, they all feel natural, inevitable, and full of grace. Finally, you rise toward the crust, bringing with you the memory of the flowing interior. You sense how this unseen world will continue to shape the surface, silently guiding the continents, nudging the oceans, and whispering through the rocks. The energy of these hidden rivers remains, unseen but deeply felt, a pulse beneath everything you know. And as you linger at the threshold between the hidden and the visible, you wonder quietly what other secrets of motion and flow lie just beyond your senses, waiting to guide the world in ways you have yet to imagine. You begin your journey beneath the vast, gentle surface of the oceans, where light filters down in soft, muted ribbons. The water around you moves with a languid rhythm, carrying you along invisible currents that have flowed for millions of years. You feel weightless, embraced by the vastness, as though the ocean itself is cradling you in a lullaby of blue and green. Below, the seafloor stretches endlessly, hiding secrets of the Earth's slow, graceful evolution. Here, at the mid-ocean ridges, the planet exhales molten rock from deep within its mantle. Magma rises like a warm, liquid heart, glowing softly as it meets the cold embrace of the ocean. You watch in quiet wonder as it spreads outward, cooling into new crust. Each layer of rock forms like a gentle brushstroke across the canvas of the seafloor, an artwork painted over eons. The ridges pulse with the quiet heartbeat of creation, and you can almost feel the warmth radiating from the young earth beneath your fingertips. The process is slow, patient, and mesmerizing. You glide along with it, tracing the ridges as they wind their way across the ocean floor. Tiny, phosphorescent creatures illuminate your path, their lights twinkling like stars scattered across the deep. You feel connected to them, sharing the same rhythm of existence, moving in harmony with the slow, deliberate unfolding of geological time. Here, under the waves, time seems to stretch and bend, each second swelling with quiet significance. You notice how the new crust pushes the old crust gently aside, a silent migration that has been occurring for millions of years. The seafloor spreads like a calm river of stone, carrying with it traces of continents that once were. Fossils and fragments of ancient rocks are transported along these hidden highways, reminders of lands that drifted far from their original homes. You imagine the continents, like slow dancers, gliding across the globe, moving with an elegance so gradual that only the patient ocean can truly witness it. The water around you vibrates with subtle energy. Hydrothermal vents release plumes of mineral-rich water, forming tiny, luminous clouds that rise and mingle with the surrounding ocean. Life flourishes in this hidden warmth. Strange, delicate creatures cling to the vents, adapting to conditions so extreme that they seem almost otherworldly. You watch their movements, gentle yet purposeful, a testament to the resilience and creativity of life. Even in the deepest shadows, the ocean nurtures its own mysteries, revealing them only to those who float quietly, observing without hurry. You drift farther along the ridge, following its gentle curves, feeling as though you are reading a story written in stone and water. Each ridge is a chapter in the Earth's memoir, a testament to the slow, patient rhythms of planetary life. You sense that the ocean remembers every shift, every collision and separation of continents. Beneath you, layers of rock record the Earth's wandering, a memory etched into the seafloor itself. You imagine placing your hand on the crust and feeling the pulse of time, slow but unbroken. Currents carry whispers of other places. You sense the echoes of continents long past, fragments of Africa, South America, and ancient islands that have vanished into the depths. The ocean preserves them as if in a dream, holding their shapes in a quiet embrace. You feel the connection between what has been and what is becoming, the way the past shapes the future with gentle persistence. The sea, in its infinite patience, cradles the history of the Earth, allowing you to witness the journey of land and water as it unfolds silently beneath your gaze. You notice the subtle colors of the underwater world, the deep blue of the open ocean, the green shimmer where sunlight reaches, and the darker hues near the vent plumes. These shades shift gradually, like a slow sunrise that takes hours to awaken. The light bends and scatters, painting moving patterns across the rocks and the creatures that inhabit them. You let your eyes follow these patterns, feeling your mind float in harmony with the rhythms of the ocean. Everything moves gently here, every element part of a greater, cohesive dance. Sometimes, a shadow passes across the ocean floor. A submarine ridge rises like a ridge on a sleeping giant's back, reminding you of the immense scale of this underwater world. You glide around it, feeling the current tug slightly, and notice the way sediments settle around its base. Tiny particles drift downward like snowflakes in slow motion, accumulating and becoming part of the new crust. You sense that the ocean is patient beyond comprehension, shaping the Earth in ways invisible to most eyes, yet deliberate in every movement. As you move, you notice the connections between ridges, valleys, and abyssal plains. These features form a network of paths, carrying heat, minerals, and life across the oceans. You imagine each path as a river of memory, transporting stories from one place to another. Magma rises here, crust spreads there, and creatures drift between them, all bound by a rhythm of movement so slow and steady that it almost seems eternal. You feel honored to witness such a profound flow of energy and matter, a reminder that even the smallest currents contribute to the vast choreography of the Earth. The ocean seems to breathe with you. You take a slow breath, feeling the weight of water and time around you. You realize that the spreading ridges beneath you are not merely geological structures but living pathways of transformation. Each moment you glide along the seafloor is a meditation on change, subtle, continuous, and profound. You are both observer and participant, moving through layers of history as if walking through a quiet cathedral built from stone, water, and light. Far above, sunlight begins to fade into the horizon of the deep. You feel the gentle tug of currents guiding you onward, hinting at mysteries yet to unfold. The mid-ocean ridges stretch into the distance, and you sense that your journey is only part of a much larger story. The Earth continues to wander, slowly sculpting new lands, carrying echoes of old ones, and nurturing life in places unseen. You feel a gentle curiosity stir within you, a quiet question about where these paths might lead, what forms the ocean might yet shape, and which secrets it might reveal. You linger a while longer, letting your awareness settle into the rhythm of the ocean. Each ridge, vent, and current becomes a soft note in the symphony of the deep. The Earth beneath you continues its slow breathing, indifferent to the passing of days or centuries. You feel connected to this ongoing story, a witness to the patient work of forces too vast to measure in human terms. And as you float, you understand that the ocean's journey is inseparable from your own, a shared meditation on time, change, and quiet transformation. You are standing on the edge of time, feeling the subtle pulse beneath your feet. The Earth beneath you is alive in a slow, unhurried rhythm, carrying stories written in rock and soil. These stories began long before your first breath, before the continents were named, before the oceans filled their deep, endless bowls. Beneath your feet, the plates of the planet move with imperceptible grace, guided by forces so immense that they seem almost eternal, yet soft enough to cradle life atop them. You sense them, not as sudden jolts, but as the tender insistence of movement, slow, patient, inevitable. The continents you know, Africa, South America, Eurasia, were once strangers to each other, floating freely across a vast primordial ocean. Their collisions, over millions of years, have been neither cruel nor gentle but necessary. They meet and part with an elegant persistence, a dance that shapes valleys and peaks alike. You imagine these gatherings as quiet embraces, each one leaving its mark on the skin of the earth. Mountains rise, not in anger, but as monuments to the forces that push them together, a soft, deliberate reminder that change is not always abrupt. You step closer to a mountain range, your fingers tracing imaginary lines along its slopes. The rock beneath your touch carries memories of pressure and heat, of compression so intense it folds stone like fabric. This is the story of collision, told in the language of the earth. The jagged edges of cliffs, the gentle slope of a valley, the way a river carves its way through stone, all are echoes of these ancient embraces. You feel the hum of energy that flows unseen, the slow gathering and releasing of forces that shape landscapes over epochs. In the quiet, you almost hear it, the soft sigh of continents as they press against one another, letting go, then pressing again. Sometimes these movements are abrupt. You feel a tremor beneath your feet, not violent, but insistent, a whisper of what the earth can do when its energy must find release. Earthquakes are the planet's exhalations, a sudden reminder that even slow, graceful forces have moments of urgency. And yet, in these tremors, there is no malice. They are part of the conversation between plates, a necessary punctuation in the sentence of geology. You imagine standing on the edge of a shifting fault line, feeling both the weight and the freedom of this immense patience. The earth teaches you that endings are rarely sudden. They are drawn out in layers, in folds, in movements that may take millennia to fully unfold. In this landscape, every mountain has a story. The Himalayas, towering and jagged, are a testament to the collision of India with Eurasia. You picture India as a restless traveler, moving northward with unwavering purpose, until it met the steadfast mass of Eurasia. The impact was not a battle, but a meeting of wills, creating peaks that scrape the sky and valleys that cradle rivers. You feel the quiet grandeur of this process, the way pressure can create beauty, the way friction can carve meaning. The mountains are not static. They continue to grow, fold, and shift imperceptibly, carrying with them the soft persistence of motion. You wander along a coastal cliff, where ocean waves lap quietly against ancient stones. The shore itself is born of collisions. Sediments pressed together, uplifted, reshaped by the tides and currents. You imagine a fragment of South America, once far across an ocean, slowly drifting toward another landmass, guided by forces no eye can see. When it finally meets, there is no violence, only a quiet insistence that changes the face of the planet forever. You feel the poignancy of these movements, the way separation and reunion leave their mark in both beauty and impermanence. The earth is patient, but it never forgets. Sometimes, landmasses tear apart. Rifts open, oceans intrude, and continents drift away, pulled by unseen currents of molten rock beneath the surface. You watch as the familiar becomes strange, as once close neighbors grow distant, carried apart by forces measured not in days, but in eons. There is a gentle sadness in this parting, but also a profound acceptance. Separation is natural. It is the other side of connection. The landscapes remind you that growth often requires letting go, that distance can create room for new forms of life, new rivers, and new valleys to emerge. You feel your own breath synchronize with this slow rhythm of giving and receiving. The rocks themselves are storytellers. You hold a fragment of granite, feeling the grains of quartz and feldspar pressed together under unimaginable pressure. Each crystal is a witness to time, a record of collisions, compressions, and releases. You realize that beneath the permanence of stone lies the impermanence of process. Mountains crumble into sand, valleys fill with sediment, coastlines retreat, and yet the cycle continues, softly, endlessly. You are part of this cycle, as transient and delicate as any river current, yet connected to a history older than your imagination. You walk through a valley carved by glaciers long melted. The ice once moved with quiet, relentless pressure, shaping the land as it traveled. You see the evidence of collisions here too, where mountains resisted the movement of glaciers, creating ridges and furrows. Everything you touch carries echoes of forces too vast to witness in a single lifetime. You feel gratitude for the patience of the planet, for the way it moves and shifts without hurry, without expectation, creating forms of beauty that endure long after a single lifetime. And yet, in all this movement, there is a lesson for your own rhythm. You notice the way the earth waits, accumulates tension, then releases. You notice the cycles of approach and retreat, of collision and farewell. You imagine your own moments of tension and release, your own encounters that shape and reshape the contours of your life. The planet's history becomes a mirror, reflecting your capacity to meet, to part, to hold space for endings that are also beginnings. There is comfort in this, a gentle reassurance that transformation is natural, and that each farewell carries the seed of renewal. As the sun dips lower, casting long shadows across mountains and valleys, you feel the earth's heartbeat beneath you. You sense the ongoing story of plates moving, of continents embracing and separating, of peaks rising and rivers carving paths through stone. You know that these processes will continue long after your presence, quietly and insistently, shaping the world in ways both grand and subtle. You inhale, feeling the weight and freedom of time, and exhale, letting the rhythm of the planet become part of your own. You linger at the edge of a cliff, where rock meets sky, where past collisions are visible in every fold and fracture. You think of the journeys still unfolding beneath your feet, the collisions yet to come, the partings that will someday shape new mountains and oceans. There is a gentle hum of anticipation, the knowledge that the earth never truly stops moving, never truly stops writing its story. You feel a soft, reflective calm settle over you, a quiet awareness of impermanence, continuity, and the subtle beauty of endings that also hold beginnings. You step softly into the layers of the earth, feeling the quiet weight of time beneath your feet. Each grain of sediment holds a secret, a whisper of life long past, pressed gently into the stone. Imagine a fern unfurling its delicate leaves 100 million years ago, its shadow captured forever in the fine lines of a fossil. You run your fingers across the smooth, cold imprint, sensing a presence that once breathed, swayed, and lived under the same sun you feel now. Beneath your feet, layers of rock stretch like a storybook, page after page of chapters written in mineral and memory. The earth remembers everything, even the smallest creatures, whose delicate bones and shells sank to the bottom of ancient seas. Tiny trilobites scuttled along soft mud, unaware they would leave traces that your eyes now trace with wonder. You sense the patience of time here. Nothing is hurried. Fossils form slowly, as if the earth itself takes a long, deep breath before recording each life. You wander through an ancient forest, long gone, now preserved in stone. Towering trees reach toward an imagined sky, their roots etched into layers of sediment. The fossils of leaves, needles, and seeds lie quietly, each a frozen echo of photosynthesis and wind-stirred branches. You notice patterns, subtle repetitions of form that whisper of continuity. Life adapting, surviving, and shifting in rhythm with the slow, invisible pulse of the planet. You breathe slowly, feeling a connection across millions of years, the forest speaking softly through the preserved shapes of its former life. Beneath seas that once lapped gently against prehistoric shores, you imagine the graceful glide of ammonites, spirals turning endlessly in the water. Their chambers are now hollow echoes, filled with minerals that crystallize like tiny stars. You trace the spiral with your fingertip, feeling the mathematics of life expressed so beautifully in nature. Even in their absence, these creatures teach you about symmetry, growth, and the delicate balance of ecosystems long vanished. Fossils are not just remains. They are lessons carved into stone, invitations to understand the lives that once flourished here. The Earth itself is an archivist, patiently preserving these moments. Sediment layers compress, fold, and harden over eons, keeping every detail intact. Mountains rise slowly, carrying these memories upward where they are exposed to light once more. You follow the folds of a great rock, noticing how layers bend and twist, telling stories of continental collisions and quiet accumulations. Plate tectonics is the slow, deliberate hand that reshapes the landscape, sometimes obscuring, sometimes revealing, but always maintaining the integrity of these ancient chronicles. As you move through this geological library, you sense the passage of time in a new rhythm. It is vast, unhurried, and yet intimately connected to the pulse of your own life. Fossils are markers of continuity, reminders that life persists, adapts, and leaves traces for those patient enough to notice. You feel a quiet awe at the persistence of memory within matter, the way ancient life still touches the present. Every bone, shell, and leaf is a message from the past, a story written slowly and deliberately, waiting for a curious mind to read it. Some fossils are simple, subtle impressions of small creatures that once skittered across muddy shores, leaving behind faint footprints that hint at movement and behavior. Others are elaborate, astonishingly detailed, capturing the intricate designs of scales, feathers, and exoskeletons. You notice the creativity of evolution etched in these forms, the countless experiments that life tried and sometimes discarded. You feel a tender respect for the fragility of life and the patient endurance of the Earth itself, holding these echoes safely in its layers. Time moves differently here, measured not in hours or days, but in millions of years. You feel yourself suspended in this slow rhythm, your breathing in sync with the gentle accumulation of sediment and the inexorable drift of continents. The Earth carries these memories with quiet dignity, never forgetting, never rushing, always preserving the delicate balance of what once was. Each fossil is a pause, a quiet note in the symphony of life that stretches across eons. As the sun filters softly through imagined canopies, you imagine these ancient worlds in subtle, muted colors. Seas shimmer faintly in light you cannot touch, forests rustle with the soft brush of long-extinct creatures, and mountains rise with stately patience. You are both observer and participant, feeling the continuity of life as it flows into the present. Fossils are not just remnants. They are companions in meditation, whispering stories that soothe your mind and awaken your curiosity. And as you leave this quiet archive, walking slowly toward the present moment, you sense the Earth's memories lingering in your thoughts. The stories of the past are not finished. They are gently carried forward by the slow, unceasing work of the planet. Every fossil, every fold of rock, every subtle imprint is a reminder that the past and present are woven together in endless conversation. You carry this knowledge softly with you, as the Earth continues to breathe and remember, patiently holding the secrets of life until you return once more. Even now, beneath your body, the slow rhythm of the planet continues. Tremors, heat, and gravity interact in subtle, graceful ways. You close your eyes and imagine the Earth breathing, a calm pulse you can sense if you listen with patience. You are part of this rhythm, a small note in the vast symphony of stone and water, air and light. Beneath the surface, rock slowly bends and flexes, moving in ways so slow you would not notice them if you were walking across a field. Yet, beneath your feet, the pulse persists, unbroken and eternal. It begins with the heat, deep within the planet, beyond the layers you could ever reach. Molten rock swirls like a hidden river. These slow, languid currents of magma are as soft and quiet as the warmth that spreads through your own body after a long inhale. They move according to the laws of physics, yes, but also with a kind of patience, a timeless patience that you can almost feel if you let your mind drift downwards, deeper than the ground beneath your feet. Each movement is deliberate, a gentle exhalation of heat that slowly migrates toward the crust, shaping mountains and valleys that will cradle rivers you might someday swim in. Gravity, too, has its rhythm. It is constant, invisible, yet it guides the dance of the Earth's pulse. The mantle pulls, the crust yields, oceans swell, and tides rise and fall with a quiet insistence. You can imagine the planet inhaling and exhaling like a giant, unseen lung, its heartbeat too slow for your ears, but not for your senses if you are patient. Even as you lie still, your body feels the subtle tug of the moon, a soft, gentle nudge that mirrors the pull of your own heartbeat. The Earth's pulse is reflected in yours, and your pulse is reflected in its rhythm. You are a note in this slow cosmic music. Beneath the crust, tremors wander like whispers. Most are too small to shake buildings or rattle the ground beneath your feet, yet they travel across continents with patient certainty. The Earth is never entirely still. You imagine it as a vast, breathing body, veins of molten rock running through it, nerves of pressure and tension responding to changes both near and far. Each tiny tremor is a sigh that carries with it stories of pressures accumulated over centuries. The rocks are telling you something, if you choose to listen. That everything, even the slowest movement, has a reason, a place, a gentle pattern that is almost impossible to perceive in a single glance. In the oceans, the pulse becomes water. You might feel it in the faint rocking of a boat, the sway of waves lapping against the shore, but deep below, the rhythm is subtler. Currents shift slowly, warmed by the planet's heat and guided by gravity. Cold water sinks and rises, drawn along pathways carved over millennia. You imagine yourself drifting along with these currents, weightless and calm, wrapped in the hush of underwater mountains, listening to the world's quiet breathing. Even the tiniest eddies are part of the larger rhythm, turning, flowing, and resting in a slow, continuous meditation that mirrors the breathing of your own body. You begin to notice the pulse in the rocks beneath your feet. Each stone, each mineral grain, was once molten, part of the slow, simmering heart of the planet. Now solid, it still remembers the heat, the pressure, the careful shaping of millions of years. These rocks shift imperceptibly, expanding and contracting as the heat below moves toward the surface. As the tectonic plates carry the continents on their slow journey, you are connected to these movements, even if you cannot feel them directly. Your imagination becomes your sensor, allowing you to witness the subtle language of the Earth, a quiet, constant communication written in heat and motion, pressure and time. Even the air above the ground participates. Though lighter, it responds to the energy that rises from the planet. Heat from deep inside reaches the surface and warms the land and water, creating winds that carry whispers across forests and deserts. You imagine each gentle breeze as a soft exhale from the planet itself, brushing across your skin, a reminder that the pulse beneath you reaches upward, through everything you can touch, see, and hear. You are embraced by it, held in the tender, patient rhythm that guides mountains, rivers, oceans, and clouds alike. If you focus, you can feel your own heartbeat synchronize with the world around you. One slow inhale, one slow exhale. The Earth's pulse is slower than yours, but you sense it in the warmth of the ground, in the pressure of your body against the floor, in the gravity that tugs gently at every part of you. There is a meditation here in the awareness of subtle forces, in the recognition that movement need not be loud to be meaningful. Even what is nearly imperceptible has power, a quiet influence that shapes life and matter alike. You imagine standing on a quiet plain, far from cities and traffic. You lie down, letting your body relax, letting the Earth's warmth seep into your muscles. Beneath you, layers of stone and molten rock hum their slow, unseen song. Above you, the air sways with invisible waves. Your mind drifts along these currents, slow and rhythmic, imagining the planet as a sentient being, breathing, feeling, and moving with infinite patience. Each tremor, each gust of wind, each current of magma is a part of a story too long to hear in a single lifetime. Yet you are part of it, listening, witnessing, and resting within it. Even in cities, beneath concrete and asphalt, the pulse continues. The Earth does not stop for human structures. You imagine the hidden rivers of heat and stone, the quiet shifts in the crust, and you realize that no matter where you are still connected to the slow heartbeat of the planet. It whispers beneath your shoes, beneath your floor, beneath the deepest basements, and into the very marrow of the mountains. There is a rhythm that is older than any building, older than any tree, older than you, and yet it flows through you, tender and unhurried. You notice the way your body mirrors the earth's pulse. Every exhale a sigh. Every inhale, a quiet intake of warmth and life. There is a harmony here, a calm connection that does not need words, only patience and attention. You can lie still and listen, imagining the soft tremors beneath, the subtle expansion and contraction of rock, the heat that rises slowly, steadily, like a candle's warmth traveling across a room. The earth's pulse is everywhere, gentle, persistent, alive in a way that asks only that you notice. And as you close your eyes, imagining the planet breathing beneath you, you feel the interconnectedness of all things. The pulse you cannot hear is as real as your own heartbeat, as real as the flow of water, as real as the breeze brushing your cheek. You rest within it, aware and calm, knowing that the movements of the earth will continue long after your body has quieted. And somewhere, in that deep, patient rhythm, a question rises softly, carried along currents of heat, stone, and gravity. You step softly across the landscape of memory, where every stone, every grain of sand, carries the imprint of time. Beneath your feet, layers upon layers of rock whisper the story of a planet that is both ancient and alive. You bend down and let your fingers brush against the rough surface of a cliff, feeling the faint warmth of sunlight that has traveled millions of miles, touching the same surface that witnessed mountains rise and rivers carve their way through valleys long before you were here. Rocks are not just stone. They are the pages of Earth's diary, written slowly and deliberately, line by line, layer by layer. Sedimentary rock, the gentle archivist, holds the delicate evidence of oceans long vanished and creatures that lived and breathed beneath waves you cannot see. You imagine the rivers depositing silt, the wind sprinkling sand, each particle settling into a quiet narrative, patiently waiting for someone to notice. As you run your hand along the ridges, you feel the subtle pulses of time itself, so slow that it almost seems eternal. Volcanic rock tells a fiercer story. You can almost hear the roar of molten stone as it pushed its way from the heart of the planet, spilling over the land in rivers of light and heat. You close your eyes and sense the heat of that distant fire, the trembling of the ground as mountains formed, as the landscape itself was reshaped in moments of immense energy. And yet, when it cooled, it became solid, a permanent reminder that creation and destruction are inseparable partners in this gentle dance. The earth moves with a patient rhythm, sometimes violent, sometimes slow, always persistent. As you walk along a weathered canyon, the wind carries whispers from millions of years ago. You can hear it in the way layers of rock fold into one another, in the soft curves carved by glaciers, in the tiny fissures that run like veins through ancient stone. Each fold, each line, tells a story of pressure and time, of change that is so gradual you might barely notice it, yet powerful enough to shape continents. You lean closer, tracing a tiny crystal embedded in the rock, and realize that even in the smallest detail, the history of the planet is written. It is patient, precise, and profoundly beautiful. Rivers, too, are sculptors of time. You follow the gentle bend of a stream, watching how it has cut through rock over countless years, wearing down the hard edges until the stones are smooth, the water singing softly over their surfaces. You think about how water is both gentle and unstoppable, shaping the world slowly yet inevitably, reminding you that change does not always arrive in a single moment, but often in the quiet persistence of everyday flow. Standing by the river, you feel connected to this ongoing story, a participant in the same slow movement that has shaped canyons, valleys, and plains. You imagine yourself as a tiny part of this immense timeline, where your life is a fleeting moment in comparison to the age of the rocks around you. And yet, this does not make you insignificant. Instead, you feel the reassurance of continuity, the comfort of belonging to a story far larger than yourself. Every step you take is a whisper in the grand conversation of Earth, every breath a note in a symphony that has been playing for eons. You feel the patience of the planet seep into your own rhythm, your heartbeat synchronizing, softly, with the slow pulse of deep time. Fossils, hidden like secret letters in the pages of stone, offer glimpses into lives long past. You imagine the delicate shells of creatures that lived in ancient seas, the bones of animals that roamed plains now silent, all captured in mineral memory. You understand that these fragments are not mere curiosities, but evidence of resilience and transformation, reminders that life and the world it inhabits are always evolving. As you look closer, the fossilized patterns resemble the intricate veins of leaves, the branching of rivers, the delicate lacework of clouds, connections that stretch across time, linking the present to a deep, living past. Mountains rise around you, monumental and serene, sculpted by the slow movement of tectonic plates beneath the crust. You can feel the enormous forces that pressed these layers upward, folding them into peaks that touch the sky. They speak of patience measured in millennia, of processes so vast that they challenge your sense of scale. And yet, as you stand in their shadow, you sense intimacy in their quiet strength, an invitation to slow your own thoughts, to witness, and to learn from the patient persistence of nature itself. Even the tiniest stones beneath your feet have stories to tell. Pebbles carried by rivers, polished by ceaseless motion, speak of endurance and transformation. A single stone may have traveled thousands of miles, shifted from one riverbed to another, smoothed by centuries of water and wind. You pick one up and feel its cool, smooth surface, thinking of all the journeys it has endured, the silent, steady progress of matter through time, relentless yet calm. In this simple object, you see a microcosm of the world, a reminder that every small piece of earth has its own rhythm, its own narrative written in mineral memory. You feel the connection between the living and the non-living, between the fleeting and the eternal. The earth writes in patience, in processes too slow to notice yet too grand to ignore. And in that slow writing, there is a meditation, a comfort, an invitation to rest. You allow your thoughts to wander through the folds of rock, the curves of rivers, the rise and fall of mountains, feeling the long reach of time cradle you gently. Here, you are not separate from the world. You are woven into its quiet story, a participant in the ongoing rhythm of creation, destruction, and rebirth. As the light softens and shadows stretch across ridges and valleys, you notice the subtle changes that only time can make visible. Moss clings to stone, roots thread through cracks, and small flowers bloom where sunlight falls just right. You see the continuity of life pressing softly against the permanence of rock, the gentle insistence of living things reminding you that the planet is never static. You breathe in the scent of earth and water, listening to the soft wind, feeling your mind expand alongside the history beneath your feet. And as you sit quietly, tracing the layers of a cliff with your eyes, you realize that the Earth's story is endless, written in patterns too slow for us to fully grasp, yet always present, always ongoing. You rest in this realization, knowing that every ridge, valley, and ocean is part of a narrative older than you can imagine, yet intimately connected to the moment you inhabit. You let the weight of deep time settle around you, gentle and reassuring, as your awareness drifts toward the rhythm of the next story. The unseen forces that shape the movement of water, wind, and life itself, guiding your mind toward the next chapter of quiet wonder.